I kind of forgot that I was already in the progress of a race week because I started recording this episode and then something came up and I had to stop recording. So we're at Monaco and I don't really think that we missed too much because I can't really remember everything off the top of my head. And I don't have everything that I need, but we are going to Monaco, which is the next race. We didn't have any upgrades, according to Matthias Hartman, who is letting you know that we don't have any other upgrades. Plus, this is the week of Monaco. And the forecast is going to be pretty mixed because qualifying will be wet at a street course that I'm not looking forward to racing at. Also, I believe I'm racing this race as potentially Jack Crawford because we raced with Enzo last time, so now we're Jack Crawford. But I can tell that apparently Jack has been messing with his engine because what is this wear and why is it so high? Like everything else is nowhere near as high as the ICE. The internal combustion engine is literally at 80%. That's a shame. Anyways, usually there's a lot of administrative things that I would take care of, but we're not going to worry about that. I'm just going to go ahead and do some practice laps around Monaco and get back used to racing this track because I wasn't that bad at it. It's all about just really qualifying well and then just defending all day because nobody can really pass here except for on the straightaway. So I'm going to practice and then I'll see you guys. The new setup that I'm going to do for this is I'm going to do all the commentary after the race. So I used to do it during the race. I'm going to do it after. We're going to try that because I think what's happening is that I'm getting too distracted trying to talk and trying to drive at the same time in a game that I'm not as familiar with anymore. So that's kind of what's maybe affecting us. I'm not saying that's going to make any changes for Monaco, but I am going to try something different, do a little bit of post commentary work. This is not post commentary. This is actually me like talking live while in game and playing. But I'm just thinking ahead here. So I'm going to try it that way. So there will be no main commentary. Everything will happen after the race. I'll see how that goes. I'm going to try a different editing style as well and see if that works for me and if that helps me feel a little bit more comfortable behind the wheel of the F1 car. So yeah, I guess that's pretty much all I had to do. I can kind of see why I may have skipped ahead because there probably wasn't anything going on and I didn't really say much. Go figure. I'll see you guys at qualifying for the Monaco Grand Prix.
Now, if you ask anyone who's raced here, they'll tell you, nowhere in the world is more important to get a high qualifying position than here on the windy, chicaney, challenging streets of Monaco. We're about to set the grid for tomorrow's race, but potentially for the end of the race too. So welcome along, everyone, to the Monaco Grand Prix qualifying.
So here we are in Monaco, finally. Monaco is a track that I am not confident in, just like I wasn't confident in Miami, but here we are on the first couple of laps with Jack Crawford around the Monaco, circuit. It's tight, it's windy, it's claustrophobic for me because I'm not used to, F1 cars in Monaco anymore. I remember Côte d'Azur. As you can see, I get really close to the wall here. But as you can kind of tell, I'm going to start building confidence throughout each and every lap. Now, will that kind of stick with us? That's something for you guys to find out. The good news is that we have a horrible engine. We've got some dodgy parts coming into this Grand Prix, and running as Jack Crawford, I decided not to make any changes to any of the components because I felt like if we run any of the components or we change any components, it would be a waste of time. As you can see, I get a little, of a cut there, and then we're on to lap 2. I've already set a lap. We were 12th. So we're now on the second lap of this run. And as I'm on the second lap, I've gained confidence. As you saw, we were up there into a full second gain. Now we're in P10 coming across the line, which is huge for us. So then I run a third lap, and you can kind of see the track starting to dry out. You can see a very obvious dry line begin to form. Something that we didn't see at the very beginning. As you saw, we only saw like the tire tracks of a car that came through in front of us. Now we're beginning to see that dry line form, which is not really hurting the wet weather tires, but it definitely felt like it should have been a intermediate setup. But as you can see later on in the lap, after we get through the tunnel, go down into the very tight chicane. I don't know all the track names. And if you want to tell me the track names, feel free to. We come off the final corner going down to the straightaway. You can see we're almost a full 2 seconds above time, and we cross the line setting the fastest lap of the session. And by the time the session ended, we were now down to 8th, which is fine because we were still on wet tires with Lando Norris also on wet tires, Oscar Piastri, Lewis Hamilton, and everybody from 17th on down still on wets. We could have done intermediate, but we didn't. So on to Q2, I've already run 2 other laps and we were firmly in like 12th to 14th. As you can tell, I've got a very angry Red Bull behind me, but qualifying is complete. So this is the last lap to get through, and you need to be top 10 to get into the 3rd round. We have not made it through the 3rd round. We have never made it out the 1st round to be correct. So it's great to see that we are in the 2nd round and we're actually gaining time. I'm gaining confidence around the track. It's getting better. Going through this, I see signs go down pit road. I get ready to come around this corner. We are on the intermediates because this was officially intermediate weather. I get on the power, come down to the line, 2 seconds up, and set another fast lap of the session. The 2nd time we've gone purple, purple, and purple across the track. For Q3, much the same. We were on the intermediate tires and we only really wanted to make a few laps here, so I didn't really try to push too hard. I didn't feel like once the track dried out, we were going to have the pace to kind of compete. And rather than put the car in the wall, I decided to just run a few laps on intermediates and then I called it a day. I know it's probably wrong for me to do that since we found that we actually have some speed around here in this very high downforce track, but I just didn't feel very confident on the slick tires. And the track really just felt way too wet for me to go onto slicks. So, and maybe I just misjudged it. There is a chance that we misjudged the timing altogether. But as you can see, we're kind of getting a little bit better. We were showing that we could make purples on the track, and we made quite a few purples on the track. But this time I just wasn't very confident. So we're going to go down into this corner. Right here, I'm going to get as close to the curb as I've been doing, which is how I've been getting up all my time. As you see, we gain time. As my engineer tells me, we got 1 lap of fuel remaining. I go through sector 2, purple. It was green, purple, 1st and 2nd sector, going down through the 3rd sector. This is the sector where I've had the most trouble on slick tires, and I can tell you guys that now from experience with the practice. Yes, I had so much trouble. But coming through the last corners, I feel like this is a really confident, good lap. We're going to run all the way down to the start-finish line. Another green, but that's only good enough for 7th. And right there, I'm thinking, it's time for us to just go ahead and park it.
Goodbye for now then, but really, we're just getting started. Make sure to join us again for Lights Out tomorrow. A proper road race, and in the true meaning of the word. That's how Mr. Monaco, the late great Graham Hill, once described this iconic event. The cars we drive have come a long way in the intervening half-century, but still we race on those same public roads beside the Mediterranean. There's no victory more coveted than that of the Monaco Grand Prix. The astonishing Circuit de Monaco is, for all intents and purposes, virtually unchanged since its inaugural race back in 1929. The faster cars of today ensure the 19 corners past the casino and along the seafront remain as thrilling as ever. A 2.1-mile lap here takes us around an entire country, yet never more than inches from the race-ending barriers. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Fernando Alonso, George Russell and Ocon, Hamilton, Antonelli, Doohan and Jack Crawford, Albon, Sainz, Oscar Piastri and Bortoletto, Lawson, Tsunoda, Lance Stroll and Nico Hülkenberg, Hadjar, Behrman, Fittipaldi, and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today? And alongside me in the commentary box, my old friend, Anthony Davidson. Now, I'll be generous here. It's not that long ago that you were racing and entertaining us on a Sunday. But in the years since, the sport has changed quite a bit, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has, Crofty. The cars have got bigger, they're heavier. But critically, there's more downforce to play with as well now. There was about 4 tons of downforce on the car at 300 kilometers an hour when I drove. You're now looking more towards 5 tons of downforce. So there's a big difference in performance. But because of that, the car being heavier and bigger, you've got to drive in a smoother way. You've got to look after it a bit more. You've got to nurse it through the slow speed corners more. They were much more nimble, agile machines when I drove in Formula 1 compared to now.
Right, this track needs a lot of downforce, so it won't have as much top speed. The good news, though, is that it's going to make our DRS even more effective than normal. Try to make the most of it in the race and quali if you can.
Getting ready for 5 red lights here in Monaco for the Monaco GP, and it's away we go. I drop the clutch, I go. I'm going to try to make a move on the outside of Antonelli, and I can't make it. Try to go behind Jack Doohan, can't make it either, so I decide I'm going to go inside, as far inside as I can without the FIA getting mad, and I make a triple overtake, and I'm getting ready to try to make a move on Ocon, but I can't make the move up the hill, and we're going to have to settle into P7 here early on as Lewis Hamilton makes a look on the outside, tries to squeeze him out, get the elbow out just a little bit here, Jack Crawford's son. Come on, man. There we go, right on in, and I file in, rank and file, right behind Esteban Ocon, and then I try to make a little cheeky move to the inside, but I chose not to because wings are very important here as caution waves in Sector 2. Usually that happens around here, especially around the casino. And now down into the tunnel, I decided to pour on the ERS, decided to just give it all I got. Of course, the engine is looking dodgy, ICE 87%, MGUH 73%, but I'm not going to worry about that unless we decide to DNF. And I make a cheeky move, but I exceed the track limits. But the FIA does not take it back. They don't tell me to concede the position back to Ocon. So I carry on. And now we're up to an astonishing P6 in Monaco. And we're chasing down George Russell and Fernando Alonso as Max Verstappen and Lando Norris drive away from everybody. We've got a Ferrari in front as well, which I believe was Charles Leclerc, Alonso, Russell, and then of course me in 6, and I decided to just kind of stick in with them. I'm making as many good moves as I can, trying to get as much of an advantage as possible, because you guys already know me. I'm a NASCAR guy, and track limits, they don't exist unless the FIA tells me that I'm exceeding track limits. So until they tell me I've exceeded and or give me a penalty for it, all's fair in love and war. Going into the tight hairpin, I see Russell there, and I really want to get him, and I'm seeing smoke, and I'm believing that that smoke was actually from me. So for 27 straight laps, I believe I was smoke screening the entire field, which honestly, if this was NASCAR, I would have been black flagged and told to park the car immediately when we started smoking like this. But I mean, it's the FIA, and I guess as long as the car doesn't DNF, we're good. As long as we're not a massive hazard. But we probably gave people a problem with the with the smoke that was just pouring out the back of our, Neko Darius GP car up in 6th place, especially because we were running so far up. I cut that corner ever so slightly and jumped over the curb, but no damage, nothing to the floor, nothing to the side pods, nothing like that. Because, back in the day, you used to be able to get that type of damage whenever that would happen. But I am checking the tire wear, and I'm realizing that we've got a lot of dodgy parts on the car, things that are definitely in need of repair. Need to definitely be taken off this car, and after this GP, I will be making the changes because I don't think Jack will be able to drive this car as long as he needs to. I think he would actually wind up getting to the race and immediately DNFing, and that won't be good for us and our fan sentiment. But as you can see, I've lost George Russell ever so slightly and Fernando Alonso as I'm getting pressured by Ocon and Lewis Hamilton. But this is Monaco, and as long as I keep putting up a stalwart defense behind me, I don't have to worry about them. So that's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm just going to keep driving the way that I need to drive. That way I can continue to stay up here. We're really excelling in a car that shouldn't be here. And it was all because of the rain in qualifying, giving us the positions that we needed. As I cut this corner just a little bit tight, but then I keep legging out these little bits of incremental distance to the car behind, which is actually probably keeping him out of the DRS detection zone ever so slightly, up until I get to this point on the track where I am losing that time, and I allow Ocon within 1 second. So that's why we were able to kind of stay like this Constantina effect of him being there but not being there, and me getting the gaps that I need to stay ahead of him. And you can kind of see that just kind of, play out throughout the entire race. Now onto lap number 8. Things are still unchanged, but I have a 21-second gap to George Russell and Fernando Alonso. They've kind of streaked away from me. But my job, again, has just been basically to be this great wall of defense against Ocon and Hamilton, which I have, which has been keeping the back half of the pack together, and the front guys are just streaking away. So that's perfectly fine by me. Now, as we head on to lap number 10, as you can see, I'm looking at the tires. I think, honestly, we could have gone a little bit longer, but we had a two-stop strategy. You have to do two stops here at Monaco now. So we go ahead and dive on the pit lane, and it looks like Hamilton and Antonelli are going to follow, as well as a couple other guys from behind. And all we need is a good pit stop from the crew. And if we can get a good pit stop, then I know we're going to have a better chance to stay up in the top 10. And that's all that really matters.
Okay,
And good pit stop, 2.4 seconds on the clock. We're going to go ahead and get down and away, a tenth of a second faster, actually, than the original stop. But that should be about it for a while. We're now on the medium tires, just ahead of Hadger and Sainz, who have already did an undercut to get on the hard tires to kind of get ahead of Lewis Hamilton, who has been shuffled back to 9th. Now onto lap number 19. As you can probably tell, I am taking a look at our pit window. We are in our pit window, one lap all the way in, but I'm also looking at some other damage. We did get a little bit into a kerfluffle with somebody. I can't remember exactly who or how it happened, but we did get a little bit of underfloor damage, and unfortunately, I don't remember what lap that was because I'm recording this a lot later, but we did have some more wear on the ICE and the MGU-H, which is beginning to kind of get a little concerning for me, especially considering how high up we're running and how far we've come into this race. We've already done 19 laps, multiple gear changes. It would be a dang shame to fall out of this race, but as you can see, we're coming down. And Fernando Alonso is out of the session here on lap 19. Will that be a safety car, perhaps? And doesn't seem like it will be, as we continue to mind our P's and Q's around this little chicane. Got Bortoletto now behind us in 7th, with Antonelli, Andrea Antonelli, up in 8th. So we're going to go ahead and come through this very windy, flowy section that, again, I still can't get it. There's Fernando Alonso, stricken car to the left. Looks like he had a mechanical. So that means that we actually get elevated to P5, which is great for our team. So we're going to go ahead and come in now, just in case there might be a safety car. And it looks like Bortoletto and Antonelli are following us in, along with a few other guys. All we need is a second good pit stop from our team. Got a good turn in. My teammate's now in the pits. And with Enzo coming in, 2.5, and we're down and away. That way we don't hold up Enzo. But on the outside of the pit road, I now have a new issue. Hadger and Hamilton, who pitted early on an undercut, have beaten me off of pit road. How did that happen? I don't know. So now I've got to chase after Hamilton and Hadger. Oh boy, this is fun. So going down after the tunnel, we come down into the nice little hairpin, and I think now's the time I make the move on Lewis Hamilton, push him a little wide. I believe he may have hit the wall. He did. Looking in the rearview mirror, he broke his front wing, which now puts me in line and in sight with Hadger now, with no real threat from Lewis Hamilton, whose wing snapped off after I made that dive to the inside. So now all I've got to do is just go after the V-carb, and Lewis Hamilton will, yes, he will pit this time by elevating Piastri so he can go and change that wing that he has broken. So now we're chasing after Hadger in the V-carb. Now into the tunnel section, I am going to set up on Hadger. As you can see, this nice little cool replay down in the tunnel as I am still smoking out all the bugs. Down into the tight hairpin. This is where I made a move on Lewis Hamilton. He broke his wing just 2 laps earlier. And looks like Hadger broke his wing as well. So we're going to go ahead and move ourselves up to P5 with Hadger now damaging his wing just ahead of Oscar Piastri. I'm behind Charles Leclerc and George Russell, who are, 3rd and 4th. Almost a full minute ahead of us. But again, my job has basically been like the Great Wall of China and just be a defense and just keep defending. As you can see, Hadger now enters pit road, allowing Piastri to go by as well as Kimi Antonelli. And we're just going to kind of settle in here in 4th. Or in 5th, sorry, on lap 22, and try our best to kind of drive away as much as possible because we don't want to get lapped. We want to stay ahead, and I think right now we have a car that is somewhat decent enough to keep us up here. I'm just kind of surprised. We've had no safety cars all day. So really a relatively clean race here in Monaco for the Monaco GP. So I'm definitely enjoying the effort that we're putting together, and this is literally just out and out pace at this point that our team is kind of providing, and really happy for what I see. But if we get a safety car, I'm coming in and I'm gonna see if I can slap some soft tires at it. But yes, I am definitely smoking up the entire joint. I mean, I'm really surprised that we're still going and we're still being allowed. I think we've been smoking since lap number 1 and it has not stopped yet. And I'm really surprised that my crew chief hasn't come on the radio to tell me, hey man, you're smoking out the back, because we are. But I guess that means that we're just that hot. We're that spicy. Trying to make it seem a little bit more interesting, right? Now, on lap 23, as you can see, Max Verstappen has gotten to my inside. I decided to concede the position, and Verstappen runs into the wall and then runs into me, damaging my front wing here on lap number 23. Like, could you believe it? Heading to lap 24, we've been running pretty well, pretty decent. We've been staying mostly out of trouble. Got a little bit of damage, and then Max Verstappen's our freaking race with the front wing damage, but it's okay. We're just got to be a little bit more ginger with the car. But I'm being told to cede the position to Max Verstappen, and it's a little hard to do through some of these sections, as Verstappen then pushes himself wide with that front wing damage. But as you can see, I'm definitely trying my best to stay ahead of the leader, because if I lose a lap and I get a penalty or anything like that, if I'm not mistaken, FIA won't actually hurt me with the penalty. But you can see Verstappen is holding everybody up with that wing damage, as he's got a McLaren behind him, which I believe that is actually Lando Norris, who's going to be right behind him. Now on to lap 26, I'm being told to cede the position yet again, this time to Lando Norris, who is the race leader over me and Ocon. And I don't really have a way to do that without giving up too much time. So I get hit with a 10-second penalty for ignoring the blue. I move over, and in a fit of rage, because I was upset, I push Lando Norris into the wall. And this cost me a few spots. As you can see, I let Ocon, Doohan, and Albon go by, which was probably the worst thing I've ever done. But I effectively ruined Lando Norris's race. I'd gotten hit by one of the Red Bulls, which was Yuki Tsunoda. And now I've given up a large amount of points doing my shenanigans, because I got a little upset and got into my feelings. So as we get ready to come on to the final lap here of the Monaco Grand Prix, I can't help but wonder, man, why am I such an idiot and let those cars go by? Because that was really stupid on me. I didn't have to do that. I shouldn't have done that. I don't have a front wing now. But I do have the white flag officially, as Charles Leclerc, who was right behind me, by the way, wins the race. I've got major underfloor damage, major wing damage. I've got so many problems with my car, and I'm just trying to limp it home, and I go ahead and touch the wall, and I break the rest of the wing off just for added measure. But a car that honestly shouldn't have made it as far as it did, I'm actually surprised that it made it as far as it did, because we honestly shouldn't have gotten this far with all the smoke that we were putting out. We lost 10 seconds in terms of all the timing. So if I would have just stayed ahead and or taken my 10-second penalty for ignoring the blue and got to the start finish line, I would have, locked up the position, because we wouldn't have lost any more time unless they would have absolutely disqualified me outright, which FIA probably would have, but I didn't have to do what I did, and I should have really thought a little bit wiser. But that's just the inexperience showing when it comes to F1, and that's okay. Blue flags in NASCAR are kind of optional. You don't really have to move over for a blue flag. You don't. It's courteous, but in F1, I guess, is not an optional thing. So with all this damage on our car, we come down the front straightaway for the first time. This time, we're going to finish P9, getting our first set of points for the team, which is huge, because we definitely needed those points, and we can definitely now fight against Sauber. Driver of the day was Isaac Hadger, which he deserved, but overall, good day for us.
Charles Leclerc, what a drive, what a victory, he wins!
And that's 2 wins in a row now, of course, Crofty. And it marks the fact that it's not a fluke. So, their head's in the right space. What more can we see going forwards?
And once all the hard work is over, and after lap of brilliant racing, it's time now to celebrate with our podium trio. And who gets to take the top step of the podium? Yes, it is I, Leclerc, Charles Leclerc on top. Well, that was certainly an exciting weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for more exciting Formula One action very soon.
So here we are in the final result screen. We did finish 9th. Charles Leclerc wins. George Russell 2nd. Lando Norris, Max Verstappen, Esteban Ocon, Oscar Piastri, Jack Doohan, Alexander Albon, Jack Crawford, which is our team, and Gabriel Bortoleto are your top 10. The leaders did lap up to 10th. Technically, they had everybody up to Ocon except for me, and I ruined it for myself with my shenanigans because I lost my cool. And Lando Norris was still able to finish 3rd, though, so it didn't hurt him too much. I mean, he didn't win here in Monaco, but Charles Leclerc, the man from Monaco, did. So that's good for Charles Leclerc. That's good for the Tifosi. Hopefully, the Ferrari fans are going to be happy about that one. But seriously, top 10 for us. We were top 10 all day long, and I'm really happy about it. We do have some work to do on our car, but this is a step in the right direction. The only downside is that our team rival against Sauber, Gabriel Bortoleto, wound up scoring a point, which means they're going to be right behind us once again. So it is what it is, but we'll just kind of keep it pushing, keep it moving. I'm really happy about that, and we'll just go ahead and jump on out of here and see what's next. Bortoleto top 10 and us 9th top 10. So finally some points on the board and finally a little bit of momentum heading our way. So if you like today's video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I would appreciate it a ton, as our team rivalry is still a regular intensity against Kick Sauber, and our fan rating and sentiment is finally back to being at least neutral. That means that we're going to get our bonuses back, which we have been missing for a while. I'll see you guys in the next one. Be easy, everybody.